I wanted to start with, I'm a cinephile, so of course the premise, not only, before we even hear the kind of the do revenge plot, we see Eleanor reading Strangers on a Train.
Yes.
So there's this beautiful kind of coalescing, and then of course Eleanor's a queer character, so you have this moment that kind of marries Strangers on a Train, that kind of queerness, and of course Patricia Highsmith with the plot of the film. And I wonder if you would just talk a little bit about paying homage to all of that.
Yeah, in creating the film, the first thing we talked about was like what can be reimagined, and we talked about Hitchcock, and Strangers on a Train felt like the most ripe thing to kind of place in the high school ecosystem, and wanting the story to reflect the experience of young people today. And so there was never a version of this movie where it wasn't queer.
Yeah, amazing. I wanted to ask you too, Eleanor is queer. It's just woven into the story. There's not a meal made out of it. And I wonder if you talk a little bit about telling stories like this, where it's not a big coming out story, it just kind of is. And it's, even though this is, the plot is outrageous, it's normalizing something.
Yeah, that was important to me. It was important that these characters never felt like they were kind of almost being othered for just being them. And I think that, making kind of a grand statement around fluidity, sexuality, like where you fall on the gender spectrum, all of those things, I think it shines a light on it. And I think in some stories it really works and it's really beautiful. And then in some stories it feels like you're doing it to do it. And that's not how you exist. You just exist. You are, Eleanor is a queer person. That is what Eleanor is. And so that is a part of who she is. And, I don't know that it felt like it, it is very, it is a part of her, and it is a part of her character, but it is not the only thing about her. And so I really wanted to make sure that she felt nuanced and real and like a person.
Yeah, great. Thank you. I also really love that this film, which is so deeply funny, is also in a lot of ways about breaking cycles of abuse, in this case, cycles of bullying. And I wonder if you'd talk a little bit about that aspect of it.
Yeah, the story, yes, it's called Do Revenge, and it's about revenge, and it's very fun, and it's very camp, and it obviously it should not reflect anybody's experience. Dear God, I hope that this is no one's high school experience. But really what I wanted to make a film about is kind of, the ways, the bonds which we form when we've experienced shared trauma, and the ways in which we kind of make the wrong choices to get to the right one. And the message of the film, and really what the film is about, is kind of breaking that cycle. Exactly, the cycle of abuse, the cycle of bullying, the cycle of an eye for an eye is not the way forward, and it's not going to heal you. And so really the story, it is a story about healing disguised within a story about revenge.
Yeah, it's so well done. And then of course you also pay homage to 90s films. I'm not allowed to say what one of the big ones is. I feel like I saw Election in there with the cupcakes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Election's a big one. Honestly, so there was not voiceover in the original script. The voiceover came in post when I was like, I really want to get deeper inside Eleanor and Drea and how they feel. And Election was actually the movie that I watched, because Election has it's not just there are a lot of films that have one character doing voiceover. Mean Girls is all Kaytin. But Election uses the device in such a really wonderful way where you get to kind of roam through each of the characters. So yes, I love that you thought that. Election was a huge influence, especially in the post-production process.
I saw those cupcakes and I was like, oh, that's Election.
Yes, pick flick.